Thursday morning and welcome to week number 2 of our esports coverage here on WFAA, leading up to week number 2 of the Lone Star Challenge here on WFAA Saturday at noon, a series chronicling the back and forth between the Dallas Fuel and the Houston Outlaws. And this morning we've got the two head coaches from these two programs joining us today. Aero, Aaron Atkins, the head coach of the Dallas Fuel, and Harsha Bandi from the Houston Outlaws. Gentlemen, good morning and thanks so much for being here with us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
We'll start with this. I know that Harsha, your first name actually is Harsha. Aero, your full name is Aaron Atkins. Tell us a little, because I know everybody's kind of got their gamer name, and Harsha, I guess it kind of worked out for you because your first name kind of works as a gamer name. But tell me how these kind of come into being. How you guys decide on what your gamer name will be?
I think a lot of people try and pick something that's sort of unique and, a name that they'll personally kind of stick around with. And I got kind of lucky because my first name is sort of unique, so most people won't have it. And I just use that as my gamer name. But I know a lot of players, they'll just choose something very, in kind of like a passerby manner, really early in their lives, and it'll just stick with them for the rest of their lives. So yeah. I think it varies from person to person, but I personally just wanted to pick something unique, and my first name was that for me.
Yeah, I think generally, when you're playing online, most people are only going to see the handle. They're not really going to see, your full name. So you pick something that's meaningful to you, and maybe something that would spark some kind of reaction. So some people pick really unique names or stuff like that, just to try to be able to identify as that online, which is pretty interesting. So.
So, Aero, I know I was watching episode 1 of the Lone Star Challenge, which again airs at noon on Tegna stations all around the state. This Saturday, episode 2 will air. Watched episode 1 earlier this week, and you talked a little bit about kind of your history in esports, including some time with a program called FNRGFE, which eventually became the Houston Outlaws. You kind of thought that was going to lead to a coaching gig with the Outlaws, and it ended up not. So that's kind of the origin, I guess, for your rivalry with this organization?
Yeah, it definitely is. I worked with the players that were on FNRGFE, ended up becoming the initial core piece of Houston back in season 1. And so, now that I'm on Dallas, any chance I get, I'm excited to be able to face them and, get my revenge.
I'm told I don't have a monitor here. I can't see you guys, just like you guys probably can't see me. But I guess your signal is flickering for some reason. I don't know if maybe the Outlaws are kind of messing with your signal right now and not allowing you to come through as crystal clear as you should right now. But yeah, that rivalry aspect is obviously a big part of this storyline. Houston and Dallas have always had a big rivalry. I know, Harsha, you're born and raised in Houston. Tell me a little bit about, from your perspective, why the distaste, if you don't want to go as full on as calling it hatred, why the distaste exists between these two cities?
I think they're just two cities with very different cultures, and even though they're part of the same state, everybody's really proud to be a Texan. You want to be the best city in Texas, and I think that's just a really big part of it. And so, it doesn't matter in whatever game it is or whatever sport it is. Houston and Dallas are always going to be like sworn enemies, and then in some sports there's San Antonio thrown into the mix, but definitely those two cities are really big in terms of wanting to be like the best team in Texas.
So we talked about the gamer names that you guys both have, and that many of the gamers that play Overwatch, that play any of these esports games have. We wanted to give you guys a little bit of a challenge here. I'll leave this up to you guys because you certainly will have better ideas, I think, than I would. We want to have you guys give some gamer names to some famous Dallas and Houston and just Texans in general, sports figures, some non-sports figures. So we're going to start with this one, a guy who had a bit of time in both Houston and Dallas. What do you think Nolan Ryan's gamer name should be? Longtime pitcher, obviously threw about as fast or faster than anybody ever in the game. 7 no-hitters. Obviously, he's got a lot to bring to the table. Hall of Famer, no doubt, obviously. I'm trying to give you guys a little bit of some guidance here, maybe some inspiration here. But what do you think? What would Nolan Ryan's gamer name be?
I think maybe you made one yourself. He threw a lot of no hitters. We can just call him No Hitter.
There you go, no hitter.
There you go. All right. So how about Dak Prescott, Cowboys quarterback? 4 years in the league, trying to make a whole bunch of money this offseason. Might be up around $40 million a year. Has had a lot of success early on in his career. What would Dak Prescott's gamer name be?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think you could give him the arm. He could go in and be known as the arm. Show his strength.
I think. Yeah, I mean that's how he's making all of this money, right? Is on the strength of that arm. So that would certainly work. If he popped on Overwatch, just call Dak Prescott the arm. How about J.J. Watt? We'll go to Houston now. Houston Texan, big time defensive end, All Pro, many years, Defensive Player of the Year, a sack artist for sure, but does a lot of things for that Houston Texans defense. What do you think J.J. Watt's gamer name should be?
We could just call him, Beast. That's a name that a lot of people tend to use in gaming, and he's a beast. So I think that'd be a good one for him.
Yeah, Beast works. Beast works for J.J. Watt. All right, we'll go outside of sports now. How about Selena Gomez, another Texan, but not necessarily connected to the sports world? But if Selena Gomez were to jump on Overwatch, maybe she does play Overwatch, but maybe I'm not giving her enough credit here. Maybe she does play. What do you think her gamer name should be?
See, to me, I think Selena Gomez would just take the route where it's just Selena online. Just the first name.
Kind of go like Beyonce or Harsha.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, last one. How about Matthew McConaughey, big time movie star? All right. What would Matthew McConaughey's gamer name be?
So some people like to
big
put a number after
fan, UT.
Some people like to put a number after their name. I think we could just go All Right 3.
Yeah.
All Right 3X or something like that. I like that. That works. So we talked about kind of the rivalry between Houston and Dallas and how strong it really is. What are some of y'all's memories of the rivalry, whether it be in your competitions between the Fuel and the Outlaws, or if it's when you were a kid growing up watching, the Cowboys and the Oilers, or the Cowboys and the Texans, Mavs, Rockets, Rangers, Astros, whatever the case may be? Do you guys have some memories of the rivalry between the two cities?
I'd say definitely for me, growing up, whenever there was like a Cowboys and Texans game scheduled for the NFL, people would be like really amped up about that game in school. I know like everybody just couldn't stand the Cowboys, and if we had Cowboys fans in our school, we just bully them all throughout the year. So it was definitely a big part of our life. Even if it was kind of joking, you still just want to be the best team in Texas. And I think, this is the first year we're doing the battle, or the Lone Star Challenge rather, and I think that every time we see the battle for Texas, both teams come out really strong, and it's always really entertaining, I think. So even in Overwatch, that carries over, and I think that's it's pretty cool that that rivalry kind of just transcends games and sports.
Yeah, I think last year we had during one of the Dallas home events where Houston and Dallas played each other. I think I'll focus on that as like a big memory for me, because it was an arena filled with about 5,000 fans, and the back and forth of Houston cheers and Dallas cheers. It really was a super memorable experience, and Dallas did come out on top of that one, and I'll always remember that as bring in the fist.
So before we get into, we've got a trivia competition for you guys. Before we get into the trivia competition, though, I want you guys to give me just kind of one line about why you don't like the other team, why you don't like the other city, why it is that you personally just, I'm not a big fan of the Houston Outlaws, or I'm not a big fan of the Dallas Fuel for X, Y, and Z.
I'll go first.
All right. Okay.
I think that Dallas entered the league. So, this Overwatch League has been around for, I think, 3 seasons now. And Dallas entered the league being like the fan favorite team and kind of the team everybody rooted to see like win. And so I think not only myself, but I think a lot of people went into Overwatch League thinking, hey, I really want to take down Dallas. And that kind of attitude has really stuck around, I think. So every time we play Dallas, I just, it's really important to win. I think that's why I feel that way.
Yeah, I'll point back to FNRGFE, and all the players know. I think that's every time I face them, I just remember. I got to win this one. I have to win this one for the boys.
All right, so you guys ready to do a little trivia competition? See which one knows more about Houston versus Dallas?
Sure thing.
Not all of these are sports questions, by the way. These aren't all sports questions. Some of these will have nothing at all to do with sports, but obviously some of them will. And we'll start here. Which city's pro sports teams, the four major professional sports, football, basketball, hockey, and baseball, which cities' pro sports teams have more total championships? And you guys can go ahead and just blurt out. If you know the answer, go ahead.
Probably Houston.
Probably Houston, I think, yeah.
Probably Houston.
Well, I guess we're going to have a goose egg on the board for both of you. The answer is actually Dallas. Dallas has 7 championships. Cowboys with 5, Rangers and Stars and Mavs each with 1 apiece. The Rockets won a couple of championships. Obviously, the Astros have their World Series championship. Those are the 3 for Houston. But yeah, the Cowboys have a few more. Or the Cowboys do have a few more. Dallas as a whole also does have a few more. Which city's team won the most recent championship?
We'll go with the Houston Astros.
Yeah.
All right, that's right. Houston Astros in 2017. So who are we giving a point to there? I don't have a monitor here. I can't see which one of y'all just rang in.
I think I definitely blurted first. I'd go to Houston.
Yeah, we'll give it to Harsha. I'll let him have that one.
All right. Harsha's got 1 point. Okay. All right. Which city has the tallest building?
Dallas.
Houston.
Whoever said Houston is correct. It's JP Morgan Chase Tower. It's 1,002 feet. It beats out the tallest building in Dallas, which is the Bank of America Plaza, which is 915 feet. So Houston's got the edge there by a little under 100 feet. So that was Harsha. Okay, so 2-0 Harsha. So Houston's off to a very good start here, although you both missed the first question. So, question number 4. Which team, Rangers or Astros, won the first ever Silver Boot Series game back in 2001?
The Rangers.
I'm going to guess Rangers, yeah.
You guys are struggling here. You both got it wrong. It was the Astros. They won 5-4. All right, so still 2-0 Harsha. Aero, you got a little bit of a comeback to make here.
Yeah.
This one might seem a little bit obvious, but we'll see. What was the very first word spoken on the moon?
Houston.
Houston is correct. Was that Aero or was that Harsha?
No, that was
Harsha.
That was Harsha. 3-0 Harsha. Okay, so we've only got 3 questions left, so we're already in a dormy situation right now here, Aero. You gotta come back and at least force a tie here. Okay, the Oilers and Cowboys, before the Oilers went to Tennessee, the Oilers and Cowboys played 8 regular season games all time. Which team won more?
The Cowboys.
The Cowboys did win more. They won that series 5-3 over the course of those 20 to 25 years. So was that Aero or Harsha?
I think that would be.
Do we have maybe somebody in the control room can be the impartial judge here? Who are we giving the point to there? It was a tie. All right, our judges in the control room are very ambivalent here. They're not giving me the answer. So I guess so Harsha's still got 3. We'll say 3.5 to a half, maybe. 2 more
on the board
questions to go. Which city? That's right. Aero is at least on the board now. Aero, I hope your team has more success when you guys compete in Overwatch than you are right now in trivia.
Yeah.
Which city has more Fortune 500 companies?
Dallas.
Houston.
Dallas is correct.
Oh.
Dallas has 22, Houston has 19. Both are obviously major sectors for business, but Dallas has the edge just barely, 22-19. So was that Aero or Harsha that just rang in first?
That was Aero.
That was Aero. So, all right, 3.5 to 1.5. Aero's starting to inch back into it at least a little bit. Last one, though, so you're not going to be able to fully come back, but maybe you can make it a respectable final score here. Which team leads the all-time series between the Rockets and Mavericks? They've played 193 total games all time. Which team's won more?
We'll say the Rockets.
The Rockets are the correct answer. I'm not sure was that another tie? Houston does have the upper hand, 103-90, the record in the matchup between the two. Am I here? Was that another tie between these two? So maybe we'll say 4-2 final score. Yes? No? Maybe? Okay.
Oh, we'll go with Harsha.
We'll go with that. Gentlemen, good work. We appreciate you guys being good sports about that. I know not all of those questions were easy enough for apparently either of you to get the right answer. but good work and congratulations to Harsha. You end up winning that one 4-2, the final score. I'm going to pull up the Facebook live feed. I know we wanted to work in some questions from the viewers on our Facebook feed. So maybe if the folks in the control room can feed me some questions, maybe from the YouTube feed as well, we'll try to take advantage of that as I try and make my phone cooperate here. We'll see if that's possible. I'm struggling a little bit to pull up this Facebook feed. Gentlemen, as I try and do that, tell the folks that are... technology's struggling a little bit for us here, but as I try and work that quirk out in our system, tell us a little bit more about what this series is, what it means to each of these two organizations, and why this is such an important moment for esports with seemingly every other sport, or certainly most all other sports, out of commission right now. This is a real opportunity for esports to kind of step into the forefront a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think everybody that follows Overwatch, for example, really loves the rivalry between Houston and Dallas. It's like always one of the best matchups of the year. And now, normally we only get to play once unless we play in the playoffs. Now we're getting to play 3 more times for this Lone Star Challenge, rather. And so I think it's kind of, while like all these regular traditional sports are shutting down, esports is able to kind of still function even when everybody's working from home. And being able to participate in these challenges, it's been a really fun opportunity, and we get to showcase this amazing rivalry once again, even as we normally wouldn't.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool opportunity. To be able to show off our players, and competition is competition. So I think everyone loves, that spirit of competition, rivalries in general, people, facing off in some kind of competition. So with Overwatch and esports in general, able to continue to function, I think it's a really cool opportunity to just showcase not only the rivalry, the teams, but also just esports as a whole. So it's a really cool opportunity.
I've finally been able to get technology to cooperate, so thank you, fellas. And we've got a couple of comments here. Hello to Betty Walker that's watching this morning, Francine Hunt, Ellis Daniel, Cecilia Johnson all watching this morning, Hazel Cyrus, Christopher King, Kyle Sanderson, Tina Brooks Kelsey all watching right now. Over 400 people watching concurrently right now on Facebook, and a whole bunch more on YouTube as well. One of the questions that we've got for you guys, if somebody's young kid wanted to get into esports, what would be, I imagine the first step would be just play a whole bunch of video games, but beyond that, what's kind of the path to get into it if somebody's really hoping to make a career out of this?
I think if you're really passionate about it, you want to make sure, that you have, a really good school life. You're keeping your balance good between, obviously maturing in school, getting good grades, being able to pursue other things, as well as being able to put time into playing the game of choice. So I think it's just finding a good balance between everything that you want to pursue, and then making sure that you are dedicating enough time to improving at the game as well. And that doesn't mean just playing the game. That means like being able to give yourself feedback, watch over your old play, and kind of iterate on that and find improvements that you can make. But definitely finding a good balance, I think, is step number one.
Yeah.
So one other thought that I have, from what I'm to understand anyway, this is a sport, and this maybe kind of ties into that previous question, where the prime of a career for an esports player is much younger than what you'd think of as the prime for another athlete in football or basketball or baseball, what have you. This is something where your prime is teens, early 20s, maybe at the oldest, right? I think from what I'm understand, as you get into your 20s, you kind of I don't want to say age out, but it's certainly more challenging to be competitive because the fast twitch muscles in your thumbs just aren't quite the same. The hand-eye coordination, I mean, you guys certainly know this better than I do, so maybe you can speak to it better than I can. But from what I'm understanding, that's very much the case. Once you get into your 20s, you're kind of starting to get out of your prime, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I think the prime right now is definitely early 20s. There are a few outliers where you have some players that are playing in their late 20s, even into their early 30s. So I always recommend, if you're going to get into esports, make sure that you are still working on what is your life after esports, because it can be a pretty short career. So it's important to have, an education or something to fall back on, something for you to continue to do afterwards. And there's a lot of stuff within esports that you can use various degrees on for outside, the business side, the marketing side. So there's a lot of growth from players that when they're leaving the prime and start to retire, there's a lot of options for people.
One of the questions from our Facebook feed, how has COVID-19 affected your ability to prepare for these matches and for certainly playing one another?
So we've definitely had more time at our own homes, at our own offices and apartments and whatnot. We obviously can't prepare the same way as we used to, which is everybody would be in the same environment preparing together. We'd be able to use whiteboards and stuff like that. But luckily, there are a lot of programs that you can use online that would simulate that. Even though we're all apart, we're all still talking to each other over the microphone, and we're able to practice online. So of course, COVID has had a pretty big impact on us. But I think that we're fortunate that we can do everything online. And so while it's not as good as let's say like an in-person practice would be, we can still do everything that we need to do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Everything from our day-to-day that we did before has moved to an online cloud-based type system. So all of our film, all of, reviewing everything as a team, all of that's done online now, which definitely prefer the in-person approach. But, I think it's cool that we're able to do everything online. During all this. So even though everyone's all in their own separate apartments and everything, we're still able to, work together and, do most of the things that a normal team would.
So looking ahead to this week's episode, Saturday at noon on WFAA, on KHOU down in Houston, on Tegna stations all around the state, what can the big fans of this show, and maybe somebody that's just catching this and doesn't know about the show but maybe wants to tune in on Saturday, what can they look forward to? What surprises do you guys have cooked up for Saturday's show?
Yeah, so Saturday, I believe, is it's the second part of our challenges, where we have a handful of challenges going for our players to compete in, and basically it's going to be 1v1s where just one, versus one there, and then there's also 3v3 challenges where normally it's a 6v6 mode. So you have those challenges that determine a specific pick in the actual larger show match. So in the actual game, you play on certain maps. There's different maps that have different objectives and all that kind of stuff. And so the winner of these small challenges gets to pick those maps. So the Saturday show is all about these small challenges to, try to be able to get an edge in the competition. So it's a pretty fun one. And I believe there's also some background behind the teams going on in between those challenges.
And that to me is maybe one of my favorite parts about the way that this show is put together. Is it is very much like Hard Knocks for the NFL, or like for those who watch Cheer on Netflix. It gets into the backstory of each of you, of some of your key players, and the emotion, Frank. I mean, this is a show that even if you don't know anything about Overwatch, even if you don't know anything about esports in general, you can still tune in and enjoy this show because it gets into those human aspects of what. I mean, I know there's a young man on one of the teams this week that's being spotlighted whose mother is living by herself in New York right now, in the heart of really the hottest spot in the country for COVID-19 right now, living by herself. His father passed away a few years ago, and he's just trying as much as possible to stay in contact with her, keep her healthy, certainly, but sane, because I think we're all just trying to stay sane through all this right now. So it really gets into those human aspects of what everybody's going through right now, and that's what I think makes the show so enjoyable, is it does appeal to such a broad spectrum in terms of the audience. Aero and Harsha, the head coaches of the Dallas Fuel and the Houston Outlaws, respectively. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us this morning. We really appreciate it, and we're looking forward to Saturday at noon.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
And that is all the time we've got right now on this Facebook Live. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and joining us this morning. Again, Saturday at noon on Tegna stations all over the state of Texas, here on WFAA, on KHOU, and other Tegna stations all around the state of Texas. You can watch the Lone Star Challenge Episode 2 as the Dallas Fuel and the Houston Outlaws continue to build a budding rivalry into something a little bit hotter than that. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and we will see you next week for more Dallas Fuel and Houston Outlaws coverage.